Hey everyone, welcome to our third podcast tech video show that we've done here. Still don't have a name for it yet, but we're close. I think we're getting close to naming it. So
hopefully
excited about that. This week we have some interesting things to talk about. We're excited to kind of cover some news items and some other things. But again, if you have questions, please send those in. We would love to hear from you. You want to kick it off with TikTok. Obviously has been in the news a lot lately.
Your kid's favorite app.
Yeah.
Also, don't mind me as I readjust to our also new setup, which might be different next time too.
Yeah, we'll change that every time.
Yeah, every time.
Well, we'll get it. We'll find a permanent solution at some point. Yeah.
Episode 12.
Yeah, episode 12. The same time that we name the podcast / show, that's when we'll find a permanent solution for it. Yeah.
Things change often enough around here.
Yeah.
It probably won't anyways.
Yeah.
But yes, we can do the TikTok one first if you want to bring up the article. But you probably heard about this by now. I'm guessing you obviously already heard about this. But TikTok, just a ban got signed into law, as we can see right here. So basically just what it was is that the U.S. government has been very anti-TikTok for a long time now because it's very closely tied. TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, is very closely tied, allegedly, to the Chinese government. And TikTok also tracks an insane amount of data. So it's been kind of like a foreign security issue for a very long time now. It was banned off of government devices a long time ago. Like if you have a U.S. government issued iPhone or Android, you can't have it on there.
I feel like it happened at schools too. A lot of universities and other places.
A lot of our clients that we have block it just for a similar reason.
Yeah.
But now, as of yesterday or the day before, there's an official ban signed by President Biden into law. So if TikTok does not, they have one of two options from the way I understand it. Either one, ByteDance, the parent company, can sell TikTok to an American-based company, and then it's all fine. But it has to be completely separate from ByteDance. Either that too, or they just get banned in the United States, and no one, citizen, government employee, whoever you are, you can't get to it. Just be outright banned. So the 9-month countdown started yesterday.
Sure. Except everyone's going to get a VPN, and they'll just pretend to be in Ireland, and it'll be fine anyways. Right?
I don't get how that's supposed to whatever. Unless if it's I don't know. I was wondering that because it's if you make unless they're tracking it by where you make the account, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I would imagine they would block IP address routes, things like that. Same way you would do if you were Netflix and you're just hey, if you're in America, you get these shows. If you're in England, you get these shows.
Right. But yeah, so basically that's what their thing is right now. And the CEO of TikTok has basically said that they're going to fight it, which everyone basically saw coming.
Yeah.
There was leaked things, so take this with a massive grain of salt because it's leaked and whatever. TikTok allegedly said that they would rather just sell and close down, or not sell. They'd rather just allegedly close down TikTok because they want to reuse the algorithm for something, which the algorithm is the most valuable part of TikTok. That's how they're so big. They could just reapply that algorithm to another product and kind of just start over.
That's just them being salty and just being if we can't be in America, we'll just close up shop anyway. We'd rather do that than get $100 billion or whatever. Because that's the estimated value, right? Is the 20 to 100 billion? It's kind of what they would expect it to sell for.
But yeah. So, and it's a lot of controversial things. A lot of people are okay, this is cool because TikTok, we're not scared of TikTok. We're scared of how it ties to China and whatever, which I think is very valid. Some people think it's a little bit too far because, if they do it to TikTok, what's going to stop them from just being over, it's a government overreach is some other people's perspective.
For sure. Yeah.
So,
it's kind of is it a freedom of speech thing then where you're talking now we can't,
Right, because that's what TikTok's argument is but you're fighting freedom of expression, the First Amendment, you're fighting freedom of expression by stifling, which to me is interesting because TikTok isn't the only way to express yourself, but I do get their point.
Yep.
So we'll kind of see, but I think whatever happens, it's going to set a big precedent for.
It will be interesting
because this would be the first big thing that'd be banned, from a social media company that's just been outright banned.
Right. At least in the U.S., it's been done other places, right?
Right, but I'm just saying, there's been little ones that get slapped with whatever, but this would be the big one. So it's gonna be interesting to see. It will kind of play a big. I feel like it's gonna play a big role in how these social media companies are here to stay. Every tech thing connects the whole world, but it's always here to stay. But I think this is gonna be a big precedent of how governments react to non-native whatever. So we'll have to see. But the 9-month countdown starts now. Obviously, they're probably going TikTok is going to sue the government for it.
For sure.
So it's going to extend it.
They got a 3-month extension, right? If they were showed
something
good faith or something too. If they would prove that they were doing anything that would move down the tracks a little bit. So it's interesting. Kind of shocking that happened. I think
because everyone's it's gonna. The people say it, but it's not actually going to happen. And then all of a sudden it's we're actually doing this, and Biden might sign it today, and it did. But
it's pretty funny.
It's not. I'm not going to say whether or not it should be banned because I can see it both ways. But I do understand Like the
Yep.
applicable thing for like, us maybe, like we have a lot of clients who have just like, we don't want TikTok on our network. Like we block in the MDM, we block it like on our firewall, like with content filters and everything like that. It's not a terrible idea to do that, in my opinion. Maybe, probably with any social media thing, it's really not a bad idea.
Yeah, and I think as cybersecurity becomes more and more of an issue for companies, the government has had to step in a lot of these times where there's like, hey, there's actually a cybersecurity risk to the nation.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sure they have more information than we would know. There might be some things where they're just like, hey, we know the amount of data they're actually ingesting and maybe selling or using however they want. And we just, for national security purposes, think that this isn't safe.
Right.
So who knows what they do or don't know, but obviously they know enough of something to do this extreme thing. So so I think that's interesting play. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm with you. I feel like there might be more value in them just keeping. I don't even know, is that a copyrighted thing, or is it just that there's just no one knows about it because it hasn't been leaked, right? The code just becomes more valuable than
like the algorithm that runs
thing.
the app, yeah. Because what's an app? What's a social media app? It's just an algorithm and like a pretty way to display it. That's pretty much all it is.
Yeah, close the company up and call it some other name, spin it back up again, and wait for the government to have to try all over again.
Maybe.
Don't do that, TikTok. That's not my advice.
Yeah, do not.
Play nice with the government. I like how I say that like they're watching this.
Or they care.
Yeah, ByteDance is watching this. It's gonna be one of the views.
One of the views. If that happened, that'd be kind of cool.
First comment
from ByteDance.
We'll send you a Quick Trip gift card if ByteDance is
which
the first.
means nothing
first
to
comment.
them.
Yeah, come visit. They'll be over in Wisconsin.
I don't think that would be a great idea to come inviting them over right now. That might be seen as not a great.
Oh, we can figure this out.
Maybe. Well, you can figure it out. I
don't
want any part in that.
I love bipartisan solutions.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true. Quick Trip gift card. You heard it here.
Quick Trip gift card. First come, first serve. First ByteDance executive to make it over to Wisconsin.
Oh, absolutely amazing. But anyway, so that's kind of just what's going on with TikTok right now. So, and also maybe a good idea just from like a family perspective, if your kids have TikTok, maybe look into a bit to see like how much data it pulls, because it's ridiculous. Yeah. Just an idea. I'm not a parent, but maybe it's a good idea.
Yeah. Good to review.
Good to review. All right. What's next? That's TikTok.
Let's talk artificial intelligence. And I think we can kind of make the connection from ByteDance and TikTok into AI, because I think one of the things, obviously AI and CoPilot are very interesting. We can talk about that a little bit, but I think there's a sense too of how much data is AI gathering when we're using it too, because I think a lot of times we just think the world is safe and we just assume that everything's fine. We assume the cloud backs everything up and it's wonderful and
nothing bad will happen.
Nothing bad will ever happen. And a lot of these policies for these AI things, they're capturing what you're asking as questions, and they're capturing the results they give you in the answer. And they're using it, obviously,
training.
They're using it for training, but that doesn't mean that they don't have the information. And if they were to see a breach or some other thing, that information is out there. So,
like for example, just an example. Let's say you're doing you're trying to make some government forms for like a business or building contract, and that thing that you put into ChatGPT to try and make the form had social security numbers in it. Chris is saying then if that got hacked, then those social security numbers and whatever else is in that form that you gave ChatGPT or whatever would then be out on the internet.
Right, exactly.
Which is the scary part.
And you don't have a business associate agreement with ChatGPT,
No.
so you couldn't go back at them and be like, hey, how did you get rid of my, there's no recourse, I don't think, on that. So just something to know. There are versions of these platforms that we'll talk a bit about CoPilot, which that platform does look like it keeps all your information in your tenant, even though you're in OpenAI. But some of the earlier and free versions of OpenAI, you can get into the pro versions that look like they'll have options to not save your data for training. But the free ones definitely do. And as soon as you get into the Teams version, which is like the business platform then of ChatGPT, then it does look like by default that feature's off, so it won't.
Oh, so it's not an opt-out?
It's not an opt-out. No.
Oh, okay. Because I thought it was an opt-out, but that's better, actually.
Yeah, so it's by default. You go into the Teams version, it's automatically by default, which is, again, based on how they say that. Something you can turn off elsewhere, but it's just not on by default in the regular pro version of it.
Yeah, right. No, exactly. But
but if you are paying for ChatGPT, something you might know, if you want that, you probably can go in and turn some of those features off.
Do we know if you can turn it off on the
I don't think the free version.
You don't even get to that. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. I haven't played around with it as much, so I haven't really.
Because what would be the point of them giving it to you for free then, right?
Right.
Yeah,
you're the product.
Yeah, you're the product. You're this kind of like ad revenue, ad supported stuff, right? It's like, hey, we'll give you this value, but you're. Yeah.
So it's something just to consider, just because we've had a handful of our clients and just the general populace in general is just asking like, oh, like, or not asking, but like wanting to do AI this, AI that, because their marketing for it is amazing. Like all the stuff they show that it can do is like, it just on like on this, like the front page, like Microsoft AI website, like all the stuff they can do, like, oh, this looks really cool. But like the inputs you put into it do go somewhere, and they are stored somewhere, and they're processed somewhere. Like that's like, I think what people don't always like super remember.
Right.
So like Chris was saying, CoPilot seems to, like you were saying, it seems like they like kind of like how your email and your OneDrive and your Yammer, do people use Yammer?
I don't think so.
Yammer's weird.
Someone probably does.
Or Delve. No one uses Delve.
I
There's
wonder
a lot of Microsoft
it'd
things people don't
It'd be
use.
funny to talk to Microsoft people to be like, do you use all these platforms? Like, do they use like internally? It's like someone's birthday, they're on Yammer, just in there talking about it.
I love like the random Microsoft thing. Not to
Yeah.
get sidetracked. I just love the random Microsoft things. They're like, I didn't know they exist, and they don't advertise. And like,
Right.
yeah,
And 10 people use it, and then they just sunset it at some point. And no one really cares because no one used it anyway. Yeah.
your son's saying what
So
exactly?
about
Yeah.
using things, what do you think? What do you see as maybe a useful thing that our clients could use in CoPilot? Like, have you thought of any use cases that?
Breaking down really big data sets is what I've heard. For example, you can kind of feed it. This I haven't tested this. It's just kind of like what I've seen from their advertising. What I've heard like people wanting to do with it is, let's say, what was the example without like giving too much away? But like for example, let's say you have like a big data set from like Viva or just like or like a big Excel thing or anything like that. Instead of having to go through and spend 3 hours like to like make a report out of it and everything like that, you can take CoPilot and like give me like the 5 key like data points that like this massive Excel file is like trying to pull from. Or there's a thing in CoPilot called like CoPilot Studio, which I think is technically its own license.
Yeah, it's a different one. It's like an upgraded version.
But like that can
Yeah.
do like if you're like into graphic arts, like if you're a graphic arts department, which be careful about using AI generated stuff for graphics, because that's a very gray line that you can kind of run into some weird legal issues with doing that.
Who actually owns this? Who's the copyright of this?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's kind of stuff like that. So it's basically like you're still going to be doing a lot of like the work yourself. Like it's not going to like replace anything you're doing like yet. I know people are scared of that. I don't think it's what it is, but like the labor intensive, like thought labor intensive, like big data sets, like pull up, or like I've seen ones of like, here's this big like document from something, like this big like legal document, pull like the 10 points from it that I need to like review or something like that. It's stuff like that.
I could see even like really weird things where you're just like, hey, there's a couple things I need to find out of my email, and I have 800,000 of them, right? To be able to have CoPilot go
Stuff
through
like
and
that.
find some things for you that. So I think context is going to still be very, very key. I don't think it's going to be some magical thing. I think, and I think working in the tech space, we've learned how to Google things. I feel like it's honestly like a very good skill. It's like learn what the system needs to hear from you to get the right answer back.
Right.
I think that's going to still be true with Copilot. I think it's going to be true with AI. I think what you feed it, I think, is going to be very important to be like, I'm going to have to be very specific and descriptive about the thing I'm looking for you to complete for me, so that the data and the result that I get back makes any kind of sense and is contextual to the result I'm looking for.
Right.
So I think there'll still be human stuff that's going to be very important to that. But
that is true. And also please remember, especially right now, but just forever, I'm assuming, unless if this isn't true, then that's kind of scary. It can very easily get things wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
Which, like you're saying, if you give it the wrong context for something, if you say, hey, look at this article and whatever, if you don't feed it like the right thing, you can get like really like not correct information. Like people
don't just post it to the internet or something.
Right. Like there's been tests people do it all the time with like ChatGPT, and I don't know as much about Copilot, but especially like the way you phrase and do things, like you're saying, can very heavily dictate like your output. So like everything you do with ChatGPT, it can save a ton of time, or like Copilot, but like double check it. Like don't just go ahead and do things because you probably get something wrong.
Write me a job description for this thing and then just post it to your
Don't
website
do
for a
that.
job. Yeah, definitely review all those things.
Yeah. And a lot of the features that they are talking about, I don't think this is still like they're very much building off of it. So like it's not like if you get Copilot, you're not getting the 100% of the thing right away, because they're still like adding on to it, changing it, making new things. Like some of the features I didn't find on the website, but some of the things like, oh, eventually you're going to be able to do X, Y, and Z thing. So like don't go into Copilot thinking it's going to do absolutely everything yet, just because it's a very new product. They're still building off of it.
Right.
But
yeah,
the stuff they can do is cool. Oh, coding. That was another big one. For coding, it can be very good. But also that's another thing. I've also seen some coding things go very wrong by just assuming that it knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
So.
And then you get the job of cleaning up 1,000 lines of code.
Which then could take you even longer unless you just did it yourself in the first place. So, because, I kind of made the joke, this isn't true, but like, because everyone thinks like, oh, AI is some like magical like not alive, but like whatever things, like not really. It's just like a very like new and like next generation way of like data processing.
Yeah.
Where it can just take a lot more context from things where like normal
Sure.
things couldn't.
Yeah.
It's cool though. But whenever I feel like, because this has been our main point when talking with people about it, is like a lot of people are just like, let's do AI, which is like, okay, cool, but let's also step back for a second and think about what the implications are, how it works, everything like that.
Well, and I think it's like, I feel like it's how high definition was. Like HD came out and everyone's just like, I need that. And we're just like, what? Okay, let's pause and tell me what you need it for. Like what's the use case for this thing?
That's a good example.
And a lot of times they don't know what in the world is HD. Like no one knew. Is it 720p? Is it 1080? Is it 4K? Is it 8K?
It's a lot of things.
So I think this could be the same thing where I think there's a sense that people are just like, I need AI.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're like, that's wonderful. What, how can it help you? How can we help you craft something so that works for your business?
Right.
And I think people struggle with actually answering that. They're just like, I don't know, but I want to know. So I think we'll obviously keep doing more of these so we can hopefully help people come up with maybe ways that it does help you so that they can answer that question better. But I do think there are some people that are just like, they can't actually come up with a reason why it's going to help them.
Yeah.
But they just want it anyways.
That's a very good analogy.
Which I guess isn't bad as long as you're being cautious and safe with what you do, and you're not just like throwing all your data out into the,
right.
Whatever. And again, so I think even if you do use CoPilot, it still means you're making sure that we're securing that tenant. So great.
Yeah.
My data's in the tenant. I asked a whole bunch of questions. Maybe my contracts are in there for my clients. Like some intellectual property stuff is out there. Whatever. Right. Some of that stuff might end up in CoPilot. So in the same way we would want to secure a ChatGPT account or whatever, we want to at least make sure that account stays secure. You're still doing MFA, good passwords, because if someone got into your account, they can open your CoPilot stuff now and see whatever you did, right? So it's it could be a spot where we might find issues as well. So again, all the security things we like to talk about all the time are still very important because the more and more of our private and company trade secrets that are out in the cloud, the more important it is to keep those to ourselves. So,
like I didn't even know there was Azure AI language. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Exactly what Chris said, though. So we'll be talking more about it, especially because it's like, obviously, as everyone knows, it's the big developing thing right now. So it'll probably be a recurring topic as more things come out, good or bad.
Yeah, I mean, you hear it every day. It's like AI. We should talk about AI. It's like
I can open Adobe now, Adobe Reader, and I get in like an AI. Well, not.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's not there.
Yeah.
But for the whole week, it's been there. Like everything has AI.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you didn't use it in a week. It's like, well,
I guess you don't want it, so you don't
dead
get
to
it.
me.
Or maybe it was a trial because I don't have the paid for version of Adobe.
Could be. Yeah.
Dangling a carrot out in front of me.
Yeah. You want AI? Oh, it's too expensive. You can't afford it.
It's too expensive. You can't afford it. AI gatekeeping. I
Yeah.
love it. Cool. But yeah, we'll be talking about that more. If you guys have questions on it, let us know because we'll always be talking about it going forward. But anyways, what's next? Chris got a new computer.
Chris did get a new computer.
It's blue,
It
which
is
looks
blue.
really cool. Do you want to show people really quick?
Sure. Yeah.
Like lift it up real quick.
Computer is blue, so I have to keep it like in focus. So I think that's right here.
Yeah, there you go.
Blue. I would close the lid, but then I think
you're gonna kill
I would
the
lose
TV
my TV
here.
Yeah, so I won't do that. But it is blue, and I think I've had it for a week now, and already got a compliment from someone else. I was just like, what is that? Is that some new thing? Why? What is that color? I've never seen one before. So
was it called Midnight? Isn't it called like Midnight or something?
It is called Midnight. Yeah. Let's see. I don't think it's in there, but so it's that new color. It's one of their sort of flagship right at the top there.
Theirs looks way less fingerprinty.
It does look less fingerprinty. And it looks darker.
Theirs does look way darker. Yours is surprisingly bright.
It's almost like a I don't know. But yeah, I like it so far. I mean, it's been a good upgrade from the M1. I'm still kind of getting used to the sort of new. It's sort of, what is it? Just like almost like a slab design, right? Where they went away from sort of the
Tapered.
MacBook Airs, kind of tapered to a point, and now they kind of went to the slab design. So it sort of matched.
Like the phones and all the other stuff.
Yeah,
iPads.
so your phone is kind of like the same all the way around in the Apple ecosystem, and that's the same. It's that, and the notch gets me a little bit yet. You can even see this.
Oh yeah, can you pull it up here somewhere?
I don't think it will cast my notch.
No,
I think
no,
it's
no,
cut
no.
out.
I mean just like a picture.
Show. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if they put a notch on the
there.
TV, that'd be hilarious.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, you can. There's really obvious in that picture there. You can see the.
So it's kind of like your phone notch.
Yeah.
Well, the old phone notch, because now they don't do a notch on the phone anymore. But it houses like the cameras and stuff like that, so that they could stretch the screen. I'm gonna point to it as if you can see that, but so you can stretch the screen higher up. I think it looks fine. Chris, I don't think likes it that much.
I don't know that I notice it so much anymore. But
there
when
we
you
go.
first open it, it was definitely a shock. It's obviously the form factor is different, so that it's an immediate thing. But then I open it, and you're just like, ooh, a notch. And so it's a little bit shocking. And again, the top bezels are so thick. I would have expected them to get that. I mean, you can even see in this picture, right? Like, you can see how big that bezel is to get a camera in there.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it would be feasible. It almost seems like they were just trying to stick with, like, the branding
Of the notch.
They're just like,
It is iconic. It is Apple.
they're just going to lean into it. Like, everyone's like, the notch is dumb, and they're like, we don't care. It's our notch, and so they just put it everywhere. Then,
Also, how much can you innovate on a laptop?
I guess
Like they all kind of
so
look
they're just
like this
make
is
it a notch.
this is the laptop design now. Like you can't
Yeah.
really change it much.
But yeah, it's been a good computer.
It still has like the really dumb, in my opinion, downside of like the screen limitations.
Yeah, that is weird. That was one of the first things I tried. I was like, I knew my old Mac wouldn't let me just plug into a docking station and have multiple monitors, and yeah, it still is an issue. So two chip generations later, I still can't get.
To fill in for anyone who like doesn't know what we're talking about, basically when Apple went from the Intel-based processors to their own M series processors, the base like MacBook Air and MacBook Pro, which they don't make the base MacBook Pro that I'm talking about anymore. It can only, and correct me if I'm wrong, you can only have your main display, like your actual like laptop display, and you can just have one like monitor or anything like that. Like if you have two monitors, you want to do three displays, the base MacBook Airs will not do that. If you want to do more than that, you have to buy up into their MacBook Pros, which start at $2,000, which is like $800 more than this.
Right.
People
I
were
think it might be $1,600 now,
or $1,600 bucks,
like
something like that.
Yeah.
But point being, we were thinking like, okay, maybe it's like a weird limitation, even though it's absolutely not a limitation because people found ways around it, and there are ways around it. It's still weird, but even now we're on like the third or fourth year of making these, and it's like just here to stay. So it's definitely just like kind of a sales technique. So there are some ways around it. Like if you get, well, you were saying this didn't even work. There are some ways around it. Sometimes they get like a DisplayLink certified dock, but you were saying that doesn't work for you.
Yeah, I tried a couple things and I couldn't get it to work.
Yeah.
And all the pictures that I saw were you literally just plugged two Thunderbolt monitors into your computer because both monitors work. So if I plug in a docking station or something with like a replicator, I get both monitors, but they're just a duplicate of each other. So it sees them both. They work, but it's just duplicated. And if I go into my displays, it just sees them as a single display, which I think is really just annoying because obviously it's software locked because every other like MacBook Pro with similar chips and things like that, so $1,600,
You're right, yeah.
They work, and so it's got to be something they want you to get into that next tier. Which what is that like $400 or $500?
Something like that, yeah.
But I think the thing, and I said this to you the other day, is what if you just like the form factor? Like, what if I really just like this size and I really want to be in this space?
You can't.
Yeah, then you have to like.
Apple knows what's best for you.
They do, yeah. So I just need to use two Thunderbolt displays, which again, we're in this world where I think it's like wireless charging and everything is all in one. To have then like two Thunderbolt, like it just
feels backwards.
It feels really insane to be like, I have two cables to monitors, I have another one for power. Now I have nothing. So if I'm a video editor, if I'm doing any kind of anything and I want to bring in a T7 and edit some videos, now I'm stuck. I'm out of ports. I have a headphone jack, but that's not really going to help me in any way, shape, or form, right? So it just seems very limiting to be like, I don't know. But otherwise, great. I think it's really, otherwise a good computer.
Yeah, for like normal productivity stuff, you love it.
I think it's great. The battery lasts forever. And I think if you end up in some of the lower tier MacBook Airs, they're kind of as much money as a regular Windows computer now.
Like mine
Yeah.
cost basically the same, I think. I mean,
It's
this
pretty
is a couple
close.
years old,
Yeah, it's
but
pretty-
like
yeah.
this has a lot more going for it that this one does not.
Right.
It's like
Yeah,
not plastic.
The
yeah.
SoC that just
Way
it's
better.
just so much better. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
crazy
way
how
better
much
screen. It's
difference it does.
aluminum
Yeah.
instead of plastic. It's
Yeah.
it's like half the thickness and everything
Right.
like that. Obviously, you have to like Mac OS, which I kind of
And
do.
you have to. I
actually.
think the issue are those things. It's like, hey, for some of our staff, like, I had to go do something at a client's the other day, and I was like, I'm kind of nervous because if something goes wrong, I don't have any Ethernet. I don't have any like.
Yeah.
I can't get some things to work on here. It's like, hey, I want to telnet into something which doesn't. I think it's supposed to work in terminal, but it doesn't really.
It's so weird.
So.
It's hard to go to a client and be like, I don't know if this is gonna work.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, luckily I've got to the point where I have a wonderful team that supports me now, but that would be weird, I think, for tech professionals. I think it is somewhat limiting to be like, now I got to bring dongles with me and some other things.
Especially if it's when you started this place off and you were also
Oh, yeah,
the tech.
never
like,
would
it
have
would
been able
never
to,
have worked. Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
But
They're cool though.
yeah, but it's obviously not even my main computer. I just use this for like going to meetings and things like that. I definitely have a full rig for, sitting and doing actual work. So, the day that this supports that, and again, I think I've even tried that. I'm like, hey, these are kind of powerful. Maybe they could, like, I could come back to my desk and just like use my laptop, docking station, whatever. And I have not got it to work the way I need to. And so
What do you mean?
it just doesn't like the same like multi-monitor issues
Okay,
and
yeah,
docking station
yeah.
issues and power and whatever. I haven't found it to be just a way that I could just be like dock at home, dock at work, and then work. And so I have 3 computers. I have a full editing rig at home when I need to do stuff, a full editing rig here, and this just for meetings. So obviously that's not really an ideal solution for most people to have 3 computers and then
it's hard to
keep
sell
everything
that.
synchronized. Yeah. So I think when they can resolve some of these things to make them not sort of stuck, I think that'd be awesome. Because then, yeah, when you can just go to a docking station and just plug in and work, that'd be a massive win.
Other than that, they're cool computers.
Yeah,
though.
they're great. The M3 chip. I haven't done a lot of rendering out on this thing yet, or photo editing and stuff, but I imagine the specs are all true. So yeah, and I came from an M1, so 2 times faster.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, up to 13 times faster than the fastest Intel-based MacBook.
Right.
In what regard?
Yeah, no, they probably
some of their metrics are hilarious. Just to say,
exactly.
Like I don't know if you remember, like when they first started doing
the boot up time.
Well, maybe when they first started doing the not to go too far off, just because it's hilarious to me when they first started unveiling like these M series thing back in like 2020, and they did like graphs on stage of like here's it versus like an Intel and a whatever, but like they didn't label their X and Y graphs, so like what does this mean exactly?
Yeah.
And they've labeled them since that
They
point.
zoomed in really, really far, so it was like actually a 1% difference, but it just
Right,
looked
but
like
they
a
didn't
lot 'cause
label
they
it,
were,
so
like,
you have no
way
idea
zoomed
what it
in.
is. Yeah, that was awesome. I cannot believe someone there thought that was like a cool idea.
Yeah,
That's how I'm gonna do stuff here.
it's all about the flare. Yeah,
It is all about the flare. But yeah, they are cool though. So if you do get a Mac, please get Apple Care on it.
yeah.
Because if you don't, like, did you get Apple Care?
Absolutely not. No, I self-insure.
It doesn't matter when you can't buy parts for it.
I'm also the guy that doesn't have a case in his phone. So
Yeah, and your screen's broken, isn't it?
yeah, I mean, I've had it for 3 years. That seems like a good.
There's only one little chip
It's just
right
a chip.
there,
It's
so it's
fine.
not that
Yeah,
bad.
It's not bad. I'll live with it. Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it.
That hurts my brain.
My MacBook Air, my last one, lasted 2 years. It's got a couple of tiny scratches on it, but
Yours is less beat up than mine. Mine's
No.
scratched up,
Yeah,
which is hard because it's company property, so don't
Yeah.
tell them that I said that.
exactly. It's just wear and tear. It's a tool, right? It should look like that when you're done with it, right?
Yeah, it's not
It
even
should
that
look like,
bad.
it should look like you used it. Yeah.
I'll also keep my Apple sticker on the topic of Apple. I
Yeah.
also want a MacBook, but I'm not going to ask for a MacBook, so Apple sticker.
I think you got to get to the point where you don't need like USB and Ethernet and docking station,
Which I'm not
like,
at right
capability.
now.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Right.
I think it's just a weird spot to be in. I don't know that everyone's going to be in that spot where they're just like, I don't need multi-monitors and I don't need to be able to dock in different places like that.
Maybe someday.
So yeah, exactly. Maybe someday.
Cool. That's all I had on the list. Do you have
Yeah.
anything else, closing topics you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, if people make sure to subscribe to these,
Mm-hmm.
because we get people to get our newsletters, but if you want to, watch these, we'll try to do 2 of these.
We're trying to do like 2 of them a month. I don't know when in the month. Have we figured that out?
Yeah, sort of beginning and end. So we'll try to. I think we'll be like podcast or show. Well, I mean, not call this a podcast because I don't know that we'll have guests, but like this sort of like in-depth tech show that we're gonna do at the beginning. The newsletters will come out in the middle of the month, and then another one of these at the end. So there'll be a lot. Some obviously the beginning and end of the month before the newsletter. There'll be 2 of them back to back sometimes.
Technically, yeah.
And then whatever, but.
And if we're going to try doing more content too, maybe like quick things on LinkedIn every once in a while.
Yeah, so
as
follow
they're
us on
applicable.
LinkedIn too.
Yep.
We'll try to get there. Follow CCA Technology on LinkedIn because I think we'll be actually posting things as CCA Technology too.
Yep.
So,
Yep, that's the plan.
but yeah, I don't think I have anything else to cover.